The world might seek to destroy us. The world might present some awful circumstances. But God has some crazy, off the hook, amazing, limitless love for us that we can never get away from. And that's something that we can celebrate no matter what. So I serve as the lead pastor of Church Without Religion here in West Texas. I've been here a decade. My passion is to communicate this message of God's grace and God's love. I met Catherine at Graduate InterVarsity Christian Fellowship at University of Illinois. I was taken by her right away, just really sensed that she was serious about her faith. She greeted me, and then I married her, but there was a few years in between there.
Andrew's really smart. Anybody who has a PhD in applied linguistics, anybody who was an endowed chair at the University of Notre Dame at the age of 27 has to be pretty smart.
This is Andrew Farley sitting in this week to take your questions. And, well, if you've got a scripture passage you're wondering about, or maybe, this week's sermon you're just unsure.
When we met, I think that we thought we had more in common than we did. Coming from Canada, I had never met anybody who didn't think climate change was real. My perspective was, well, the grass is green, the sky is blue, climate is changing due to human activities. Andrew had never met somebody who shared his faith who did think that climate change was real. He grew up in a community that didn't think that climate was changing, and if it was, it certainly wasn't because of humans.
When I met Catherine, she was an atmospheric scientist. She's studying climate change and doing models of the Earth's atmosphere and making predictions. And I had really assumed that there was no validity to any of that. So I started asking her questions. I asked her tough questions. I asked her, isn't this a natural trend? Isn't this just a cycle? What about volcanoes? What about cow flatulence? This pile of information that I thought was right. And then she was able to really come back with some solid scientific answers that made a lot of sense to me. Just seeing NASA's website, looking at the graph and realizing, look, it goes up. And I think at some point common sense just settles in and you realize, maybe I need to put the brakes on here concerning my doubt. In the first years of our marriage, I changed my mind about climate change.
We have the ability to make choices, and our choices have consequences. Sometimes, if we make a good choice, they can have good consequences. Sometimes we make what we think was a good choice, and it ends up having some bad consequences. And that's what climate change is. Back in the Industrial Revolution, we made a choice to get our energy from coal and gas and oil. The Industrial Revolution was a good thing in many ways, but it had an unintended consequence. That was the fact that whenever we burn all of these fossil fuels, it puts all of this carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That extra carbon dioxide is wrapping around our planet like a blanket our planet never needed and never was designed to have. It's impacting our cost of living, our agriculture, our economy, even national security. Did we know all these things were going to happen 300 years ago? We had no idea. But they're happening now because of the choices that we made. And now that we know what's happening, it's time to make a different choice.
Father, thank you for this time tonight. We thank you for good friends.
Acting on climate is an opportunity to love other people, to love them in a tangible way today by helping people who are already in need, as well as helping people tomorrow.
Mexican? Yeah, Mexican sour cream is what. It's bigger. The 97-98 El Nino was the biggest before that, and this year's bigger. It passed 3 degrees Celsius, which is huge.
By realizing that there's a different way to live, a way that's more compatible with our responsibility for this amazing planet that God has given us, and a way that's much more compatible with loving and caring for other people, loving our neighbor more than we love ourselves.
Our godly wisdom would tell us that, humans make choices. It's a fallen world. And climate change is evidence of one of those choices we've made. And there's something we can do about it. And I think as Christians, we're called to care and to act. I look to Catherine and I say, she's not trying to be an economist. A thermometer is not red or blue. She's not trying to be a politician. She simply has one message, that she's a climate scientist, that climate change is real, and that as a Christian, we should really care about that.